Hello and welcome to part 4, I think, of this little series on Write a Book With Me, which is Project Alien. So last time I would have finished the vlog on the end of my Act 1, and this time we're going to focus on Act 2, at the very least Act 2A, so we're going to be vlogging throughout the month of May. Now the main thing that I need to address in this part is whether I generally finished my Act 1 or not, because I'm actually not sure. I am feeling a little bit confused by my own outline and where I should be at and the word count and all of these things, and basically, there are 3 things that could be true. 1, I did finish my Act 1 where I thought it was finishing, and I might need to lengthen it later on when I start revising and putting draft 1 into draft 2. 2, it could be the case that I did not finish my Act 1 and actually what I thought my midpoint was gonna be my break into 2. The main point of writing horror is that the moment where you break into 2 is when you finally go on board the scary looking ship or something. Is when you go into the space, the new world where you're gonna encounter the monsters, right? And we're not there yet. And I kind of thought that was sort of almost more my midpoint, but I'm not entirely sure now. So I might need to revise my outline. 3, it could be that I'm having a bit of a problem with my important beats and that it is the end of Act 1, but I need a stronger turn of event. I need something a little bit more intense to happen for it to be a clear departure from the first world into the second world. In my head, I thought when we go from being in the city on Earth to going on the ship and departing is my break into 2. However, what's currently happening in this new scene that I started writing is they are on the ship, on the Carpathia, but they haven't departed yet. And that might be part of the issue, because it feels like it's still very much discussing things about what happened on Panacea without fully revealing what happened on Panacea. Like, it just sort of feels like it's samey with what was happening in the previous scenes. And I think that's my issue. So I'm kind of actually thinking that the moment they get into orbit is probably a better spot to call it my break into 2. And actually, I do have a really strong scene in mind that I hadn't considered for break into 2, and now I'm starting to think maybe this is it. And that is when they arrive in orbit around Panacea and they're finally there, Themis realizes that there's a ship graveyard of ships that have stayed in orbit but are essentially dead. There's no one aboard them. And these are the ships that Vortex sent between the events of a year ago and the events of now, trying to get the substance, the lava, again to create Infinex. And she did not know that, no one knew that. So I feel like this is the moment she realizes, knowing what happened on Panacea before that, probably all of these people are dead and zombified, and so they're gonna have a lot more enemies to deal with than she initially thought. And I kind of thinking about it and just doing this like think tank work by myself, just talking to myself on this camera, talking to you guys really, is actually really helpful. I'm kind of seeing this as this is potentially where I would fix this. I think this could be my break into 2. Well, that was helpful, guys. Thanks for listening to me. Good start to this vlog. Okay, so it's the same day, evening, and I have started putting some physical cards. So I've got with me some physical cards that are color-coded. I've started writing on them to recreate my outline. So I've now done Act 1 on those little cards, which is really helpful. And actually, I like having both the more detailed outline on my Notion and the physical cards, because the more detailed outline definitely has so much more information. I'm also putting scene ideas in there, while the cards are a lot more straightforward, straight to the point. It's literally just the beat. So opening image, what happens there, set up scenes. So I've really found that super useful to sort of clear up what was going on with my outline and workshop it in a way. And then I started moving things around in Notion, and I was like, holy shit, the section on the debate scenes is now absolutely massive, because I've almost got like a double bump, I think it's called in Save the Cat, which is when you have almost two big inciting incidents, one after the other. Because in a way we've got the moment Themis receives the images, the still footage of Panacea that she realizes is time-stamped and it's recent. And then you have the moment when she gets to the point of, I'm going on this fucking mission and I'm going as captain. And then you've got like the debate scene between those two moments, and then the debate scenes after, now that I've pushed my break into 2, which I think still makes sense, because in Save the Cat, one of the examples of debate scenes is simply the journey to go somewhere, so it's not so much debating whether the character wants to do something, but it's almost more preparing for something mentally during the journey. And I feel like that's what Themis is going to do. So we're going to have the whole passage of time when she's on board the ship on the Carpathia, on her way to Panacea, and that's like the journey becomes the debate scenes. I hope that makes sense. So I think I'm actually still fine with this new version of my outline, with having moved my break into 2. And then I was like, what does that look like in a movie franchise that is heavily inspiring this story, like Alien? So I went and googled Alien beat sheet, and I found a detailed one, which is super helpful. The break into 2 is when Ripley reports to Ash that Mother has deciphered part of the transmission that they found. It isn't an SOS that they found, but a warning. And then you have at the end of that scene of Break Into 2 the decision being made, which is Ripley wishes to leave and warn the crew, but Ash talks her out of it. And then the beginning of Act 2A is the alien creature that bursts out of the egg and attaches itself to the face of Kane. And then, I'm scrolling down, and then the midpoint is the payoff to that, which is when we've got the chest burster, so the alien that comes out of Kane's chest, which feels like the proper, this is the moment where in the thick of the horror, where we've encountered fully the monster, and everything before that was sort of like a build up until that payoff, and it feels more like the slower build up to the horror, and then you've got the monster in the midpoint. So I feel like that matches what I'm doing here. I think the pinch point that's going to happen between, like sort of in the middle of my break into 2 and my midpoint, in between some fun and game scenes, is going to be finding dead bodies of the past crews. And I feel like I've got such a good idea for that scene, where I think perhaps at the beginning Jones, who's the mechanic/engineer, tells Themis, we can't access some parts of the habitats because they were damaged by like the weather or something, or the climate. We need to send bots to repair these from the outside before we can access them again and unseal the gates between the two habitats. And she says, leave it, we don't actually need that much space, because she's thinking if we get bots out that way, they might wake up some of the zombies that might be dormant in that area. But it's been established already, and I've already written that part in one of my scenes, that Jones does not trust Themis, does not like her, so he goes against her wishes and does it anyway. And then kind of says like, I've done it, the habitat is cleared, we can go in. They do end up going. I think it would be Themis and Axel who go in together, and that's when they're going to find the mangled bodies of some of the crews. And Axel might say something like, well, at least we know where these guys are from these ships we saw in orbit. And she's like, this isn't even enough to be half of them. I feel so much more confident about my choice now that I've reworked some of the outline. I know where things are going to go. So yeah, technically this wasn't the end of Act 1, and we're still in Act 1 then. Let's crack on. today's Sunday the 27th of April and I have now finished doing my cards, my physical cards for my beat sheet for Project Alien. As I was doing the cards, I was trying to summarize in shorter sentences what I've already got in my bigger outline on Notion. There's a spot during the Hightower surprise where I was a little bit unsure about how to solve this moment and how to get Themis out of the situation she's in, where she's basically at the mercy of the villain, which is Isa. And I was like, what do I do? I need for a zombie to, you know, come in, and maybe Isa recognizes the zombie and maybe that's why she hesitates and doesn't shoot immediately. Maybe that's why she drops her gun. And then I realized I've got an element from an earlier moment in the story, the midpoint, that I can have a payoff for, because at the midpoint I had written that when Themis gets attacked by Captain Kovac, she doesn't kill him. She manages to escape by locking him in the fridge, so like a big, you know, fridge area in the kitchen area. All I need to do is to make my characters go back to that area when Isa manages to separate Themis from Axel. I think they'll end up there and Themis will remember that she's done this, manages to open it and get Captain Kovac, zombie form, freed so that he jumps up on Isa. And that's obviously when she drops her gun, and that's back into the rest of the outline. So that moment I've established now is slightly different from what I had before and sounds so much better because there's a payoff. And I'm just so happy that I figured that out just from doing handwritten cards outline. But now it is time to write, and I'm still sitting at 15,799 words, and I'm in the middle of this chapter where we're about to depart Earth 2. When they go on missions, they all have to make goodbye messages in case something goes wrong, and those goodbye messages would then be sent automatically to the friends and family or retrieved and then sent. I don't know, something like that. And as I'm thinking about this, I've just remembered there is the ship graveyard. Themis is going to realize none of the messages from the ship's graveyard are going to make it back to Earth 2 because they're stuck around in orbit around Panacea. And I'm thinking, I want to have towards the end of the scene, she gets the messages of goodbyes from all of these crews that have died at the very end. I think it would go really well with the theme as well, because the whole theme being that Themis at that point has stopped relying so much on lovelies and numbers and prognostics, and she finally agrees that human connection is the most important thing. So I feel like that is a really nice full circle moment for her as well. So today is Sunday the 4th of May. I have just made myself a little coffee and I am ready to start writing again. So yesterday I wrote 1,000 words. My friend Marta was streaming and doing sprints, and during 2 chunky 45s I managed to write 1,000 words. I'm now at over 20k for Project Alien. We're still in Act 1, but I've got a very good idea of where I'm going with my last scenes before we enter Act 2. And I'm very happy with where this is going. I had a moment of doubt. Like, I was writing this chapter and I was like, am I gonna have to scrap this whole chapter? Like, I was writing the scene where Themis is putting her crew through this training to teach them how to shoot and sort of behave in an environment that's more stressful than just a shooting range. So she's sort of saying, like, while running and when attackers are coming at you and everything. So she set up this whole game with Axel's help. I'm picturing this to be very much in the vein of the training sessions in The Hunger Games in the second movie, where you have those like holographic silhouettes of people attacking. Next scene is when we're in Axel's POV. It's essentially the same scene but just switching to his POV. So looking at my outline, we're still in the debate scenes right now doing this. There's the scene where she realizes her pod has been sabotaged, or doesn't yet think it's been sabotaged but it's malfunctioning, and Axel has to like pull her in his. So I need to write that scene after this. And then the chapter after that is when they arrive in orbit of Panacea. I'm really happy with a lot of the, you know, character development I've sort of introduced a little bit in this chapter so far, but I need to get to an end to it because it's already 3,000 words within the one scene, and I've got another scene to put in there, aka Axel's POV, during the end of that scene. So let's get to it. It's been a while since I've spoken to you guys, and it is now the 18th of May. May has been socially busier, so I'm not writing quite as often as I was in April. So I'm a little bit behind on everything. I'm currently sitting at 24,886 words for Project Alien, but I've just started writing a scene that I'm extremely excited about, which is the spark of the ID scene, which was when I first imagined Themis and Axel sort of realizing their attraction for one another, which is the scene where the ship has to go through the lightspeed gate. In order to do that, for reasons unknown to everyone else, because I am no scientist and I'm making this shit up, because of how overheated the engines are gonna get or something. I feel like there's some explanation there out there. But in any case, the lightspeed gate itself will have a certain impact on people if they stay directly on the ship. So they have to get into these special pods for the duration of the trip, and her pod malfunctions, and last minute Axel grabs her and takes her with him into his pod. I think I need to catch up to everything, so that's definitely my first step, is to write that scene. The second step after that scene is that I'm finally getting when they're arriving in orbit of Panacea and Themis is realizing how many ships are out there, and that is my break into 2. So we're so close to the break into 2 at almost 25,000 words. So yeah, let's get some work done for the day, and I will check in with you guys throughout the day because I'm hoping today's gonna be a heavy writing day. I'm done for the day. I'm gonna stop. I have a total of 3,703 words for today, which I think is pretty fucking good. And in terms of the book itself and where I'm at in the book, I am in the middle of that break into two scene, the moment where Themis and Carson are realizing there's a bunch of little dots near the planet as they approach on like the flight path. So just on like their scanners, but they haven't approached it close enough yet to check through the cameras what it is. They're about to, and the moment they do, they're gonna realize it's all of these other ships. So very close to that exact specific moment that is meant to be my break into two. And then finally, I actually have several moments in that chapter 9 when Themis is like preparing other people, making sure they're okay in their pods, etc. There's a few moments where it feels like that point of no return is already there, because she's making sure everyone is strapped in correctly, that the clasps are working, all of that the pods are all good, you know, like she's just making sure everyone one after the other before getting into hers. And she checks in on Freddy, and this is the small passage. Cooldown systems engaged in 5 minutes. Another warning echoes in medbay. I'm taking too long. I nod at Axel before closing his pod, him tracking my every move until I move out of sight to check in on Freddy. You okay? I ask, testing the clasp the same way I did with everyone else. Of course, she says. This isn't the scary part. I snort. We both know the scary part is on the other side of this gate. While we're here, performing checks and fretting over security protocols, everything is dandy. We're safe, still cocooned by the safety of the Carpathia, but once we're off, I shake my head. I'll see you on the other side, Doctor, I wink at her, trying to alleviate our worries. Safe travels, Captain, Freddy says in return. I close the door to her pod and it shuts and seals, the air suction sounding like a hiss. 3 minutes, the countdown urges me. Just that tiny little passage within the bigger scene is the moment of no return in a way. That's the moment where you're gonna go from one world to the other, I feel like. And we're currently at 28,589 words total for the manuscript, so I'm feeling good about where I'm at. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm really happy with today's production with how many words I've churned in. I'll probably vlog again when I'm about to go, and then when I'm like traveling, because I'm going to Brussels next weekend, and technically I'm actually leaving on Wednesday night, so I'm sure there'll be some vlogging happening then. Okay, so I thought I should film one more vlog footage right before I go to Brussels, because I'm currently packing and you're on top of a pile of clothes. But I yesterday was on my friend Steek's live stream. I didn't stay until the very end, but I did 2 sprints, and during those 2 sprints I finally finished writing Act 1. 350 words? Yeah.
Well done.
And I did finish Act 1. Ta-da! This is my first draft profile, and I'm at exactly 29,136 words for this first act, so it's closer to, yeah, 30k. And my last sentence, I did read the last like paragraph of text on Steve's stream, but I'm really happy with how it ends. It's the exact level of we're fucked and we're here, so we can't do anything about it. Now it's a new world, a new point of no return, so that's the idea. Chills trickled down my spine. 8 ships that we never knew of, that never made their trip back to Earth 2. 8 crews, dead. I take an involuntary step back from the bridge's controls, realization hitting me like a punch in the gut. Themis? Someone asks, their voice fiery. My eyes don't stray from the camera, from the 2 ships' carapaces we can now clearly see. Every single one of these crews had one goal, one mission, retrieve the substance for Vortex, and every single one failed. Meaning, it's not just my old team waiting for us down there on Panacea. No, is all I can say, my head shaking from left to right of its own volition. No. There were 10 of us. 6 died. If every ship held a crew of similar size, 86, my mind provides helpfully. There's 86 people down there, dead, waiting to be awoken. That's the end.
They were roommates.
Dead zombie roommates.
I need this book, Malin. I need this book.
I'm basically already giving it to you. Like,
But line by line, I want to consume it all with my cerulean orbs in one go.
And then I think I'm going to take a tiny little break from writing words. I just need to have a brief moment to look at some of the scenes I want to put into my fun and games, because I've got some vague ideas. So I'm going to do more like brainstorming sesh type of stuff in the next few days, and I think I might use my trip to Brussels to do that. So that's maybe what we're gonna do together. Today is the 25th of May, it's Sunday, and oh god, need to give you guys an update, I guess. When I was in Brussels, I ended up writing a bunch of sort of like bullet point lists of what each scene could be like in the next 4 scenes. My nose is blocked and I am doing my best to sound normal. The manuscript is fine. I'm like 500 words away from 30k and I really should just do that. My current job is in a precarious situation. I don't feel like doing anything at all. I'm in a foul mood. I hate everything and everyone right now. I'm doing great. I don't know when I will feel in the mood to write anything at all again whatsoever. I don't know, I'm being dramatic. Yeah, so I'm doing good. I'm not gonna write for a while, so I need to end this vlog. I've been trying to film this for the past 3 times and it's just not working. I can't film this because I'm upset. I did not do much work, obviously, on Project Alien. I did a tiny bit on the train back, so that's all the footage you're gonna get. Every time I try to think about anything related to like writing or fun things like that, my brain goes into, why don't you think about reworking your CV, your portfolio, doing this, preparing for this worst case scenario, doing that. So I can't enjoy myself right now is the main issue. Today's officially the 1st of June and we've now finished the month of May vlog, so I figured I should give you a little conclusion on everything. I'm currently sitting at 30,000 words for Project Alien and very happy with my progress in it. But I did have a week and some where I did a little bit less and sort of stopped working on it for a little while because I had some news and I needed to deal with that news, and hence why I didn't do as much as I wanted to. But I'm happy with where I'm at now. So what I ended up doing when I was in Brussels is I did an entire list of detailed scenes for what's coming next in the fun and games, and I've put on the side little reminders of what I need to achieve, like the pursuit of the Act 2 goal. So based on that, I had the following questions. What is my hero doing to achieve their goal? What are the obstacles, conflicts, characters helping her or not? And then what smaller goals come from this larger goal? Which gave me some more ideas about how to write the following scenes. So I started putting together a list of scenes with bullet points of what's happening in detail in each scene. And then I also think this is perhaps not a point of no return for the crew, and they might, I think she's going to make them vote and decide on whether they want to remain here or head back out. And everyone has their own individual reason at that point to want to stay. So we already know the reasons why Freddy wants to stay, why Saturn wants to stay, and then obviously the reasons why Themis herself wants to stay is because she wants to destroy everything. So my first scene is very much going to be the crew exploring the area, being very careful, and then the second scene after that will be an Axel POV scene, and I think this is where he's going to help Themis unload the cargo and realize that she's got stuff in that cargo, in the exo cases and everything, and realize she might have another plan in mind. And then I think scene 3 is when everyone gathers back again in the kitchen, and this is where Themis is going to ask them to vote. They saw the footage of Captain Kovac in the kitchen, and so they're going to immediately say, well, he's not here, so he moved, so that means he was walking around, proving the point. while Themis is thinking, yeah, because the dead are walking. I also think it's going to be moments of weaknesses for Themis, because she almost wants to believe that perhaps these people are still alive. And then I also had some ideas for scene 4, but that's kind of where I stopped. So I've got 4 scenes in mind for now that I can write, and so I think I'm going to make my way through them, just writing them, and then I will start thinking about the next ones after that. It would be great if I could finish my fun and games by the end of June. So that'll be my next vlog, and we shall chat during that vlog footage. So on that note, I hope you're still enjoying this little series, and if you are, consider subscribing to my channel, ring that bell, all that jazz. Let me know in the comments down below as well. I always try to respond to those, and I will see you guys in the next one.